How do? My name is Andrew Hancock and I am a VMware technical architect from Yorkshire in the United Kingdom. I have worked with VMware since their birth in 1998. So that's been a quarter of a century now. I've been working with the VMware product catalogue. Some of my close friends say if you cut Andy in half, it reads VMware like a stick of rock from Blackpool Pleasure Beach. I have now written over 130 articles and recorded over 30 hours of VMware vSphere 7 and 8 videos for Experts Exchange, and received 40 Expert Exchange awards over the last 11 years working with the Expert Exchange community. I am currently the overall #1 point earner in the Hall of Fame. I am honoured to have been accepted into the VMware vExpert program since 2011, and I'm currently a VMware vExpert Pro for the last 4 years. And welcome back to another episode of Hancock's VMware Half Hour. Now today, as promised, we're going to install the Observium Community Edition on an Ubuntu server 2204 LTS virtual machine, which I've already installed. Now I've covered this in great detail both on ESXi 7 and ESXi 8, and here are videos that I've done, and I've done articles at Experts Exchange, so I'll put these links in the description, so that if you don't know how to install Linux Ubuntu on ESXi 8, then you can follow that video. Leading on from how to configure and test Paceler PRTG, where I did actually turn around and say, don't go away, I'm going to do Observium CE, which is the community edition, but you can purchase support for the Observium product. And I'll put this video as well in the description, which is how to configure and test SNMP v3 on our vSphere hypervisor ESXi 8.0U2. And in that video, I also cover configuring SNMP v2 on Windows Server. So we're going to add those servers to our Observium. Now, I just wanted to quickly go back, because I've left our PRTG environment running since the last video I did. So it's been running now for 5 or 7 days. So we've got lots and lots of metrics and graphs and fun nerdy stuff. But one of the things I wanted to show you, if we actually basically just click sensors, now we're bamboozled with stuff, technical stuff on fastest ping, slowest website, fastest website, high bandwidth usage, low bandwidth usage, best availability, last CPU, most of it. Anyway, you can see it all there. It's great. It's if you're nerd off, geek off like me, you can get into this stuff and start digging down and looking in your metrics. So you can clearly see here 100-day cough. You can see here that our Runecast Analyze and Skyline appliance are still off. So again, without further ado, let's jump in and have a little look. So we've got our Observium virtual machine. I've given it 2 CPUs, cores. I've given it 4 gig of RAM, 25 gig, thin provision. If the VM struggles, the real benefit that we've got in virtualization is we can increase those values on demand if we find. So I've got an SSH session open. I'm hoping that you can see this. I have actually changed the font, so hopefully you can see what I'm actually typing. And you wouldn't believe how easy, really. So I'm just going to do sudo bash, type in my password. Habit, I like to do apt-get as well, update. Just basically make sure that we've got the latest updates from the Ubuntu distribution. This is habit more than anything. I think every time I actually go to a Linux distribution, I just like to check So even since deploying this afternoon, I'm just going to say OK to those. There are some updates. I'm just going to do dist update with any changes there. And then we're going to get on dist upgrade. Okay, so we're updated, and it is actually worth doing that. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to follow the instructions at Observium. They got some very simple instructions and a lovely script. I will put this in the description so you can follow. So wget Observium install script. It's going to download that. We're going to just chomod it, set the permissions so that we can run that script. There we go. And then I'm just going to run the script. You can do it manually if you want. There we go. So /Observium install script, enter. Okay, so we want to install the Observium Community Edition, completely free. I'm going to start that again because I've just been over ambitious in that I didn't actually specify a root password there. I hit enter. So that's going to get us into world trouble. Okay, so we just want to hit enter to add that repo, and there'll be another repo that we need to add as well. There we go. So it's going to add 2 repositories to our Ubuntu server, and then it's going to read a load of packages, and it's going to want to install 450 megs. So I'm going to say yes. While it's doing that, I'm just going to grab my soft drink, which is a Pepsi Max. Other soft drinks are available. Okay, so I'm going to let this run. I'm going to disappear. I'm going to bob off, and I'm going to come back. I'm going to speed all this up in post, and then we'll connect to the Observium interface, and there we'll start adding our SNMP devices. So we've got 2 Windows servers, ELAB DC1, ELAB DC2, and we've got ESXi 001, ESXi 002. And what I'll also do for shits and giggles, I'll add all the Ubiquity networking gear that we've got in the home lab here as well, because the community string is still public, because it keeps falling out. But like with everything in my life, in Andy's world, you know, problems with Nespresso, problems with Zen, problems with Sainsbury's, it's just another issue. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to bob off and I'll come back shortly. Okay, I'm going to come back here because I've just spotted it's asking me for an admin username. So pick something other than admin that people don't generally know. And by now, if you've been following these videos, you know that I often use ADAPH, but anything that's not obvious, that's not admin. I'm going to specify the password. It's going to ask me, would I like to install SNMP? That's SNMP on this particular machine, so the Observium. So I'm going to say yes, overwrite all that. And then it's going to ask me if I want to install the Unix agent. I'm not going to bother with the Unix agent. Now, at this point here, what Observium is doing, it's doing a discovery process where it's actually going out to all the current devices added to Observium, and effectively it's SNMP walking them or pulling all the metrics back. I don't want to install the agent. Okay, so we're done. Brilliant, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant. So IP address. So we're done with SSH for the moment, but are we? So I'm just going to minimize that, and I'm going to open up an IP address, open up another address. I'm going to open up a new tab on my Google Chrome browser, 103 is our IP address, and as if by magic we are greeted with an Observium dashboard or login. So I'm going to use that username. I'm going to log in with my special password, login, and that's what Observium looks like. So if we click one up, or if we click devices and all devices, whichever way you want to use it, so you can see here that I've actually got my local host, which is the current host, which is the Observium-EE-lab. So that's been added, but I don't think at the moment that it's actually done a discovery process, but I can show you with that in a minute. We'll come back and we'll do that at the SSH prompt. So how do we add devices? Now, there isn't really a magical discovery process like exists with PRTG. So you have to add the devices manually, but you can create a text file and you can put all the device names, FQDNs or IP addresses into a text file, and then you can use the command line basically to import, discover, add, discover, add devices to the panel. But what I'm going to do here quickly, I'm just going to say add device. Now my host name, I'm going to use FQDNs, so EE-lab-dc1-ee-lab.com. I think I got all that right. And our community name is EE-lab. But you may remember that in our previous video, how to configure and test SNMP v3 on VMware vSphere hypervisor using ESXi and SNMP walk. And I showed you in SNMP how to actually walk the MIBs. So we can use SNMP walk in exactly the same way to test again on our Observium environment. Now, if I go back to our, so first off, I'm just going to use our SNMP2C servers. So I'm going to do v2c -c ee-lab followed by the FQDN, which is ee-lab-dc1.ee-lab.com. And as I mentioned before, if you get a lot of MIBs being displayed coming back to you, then SNMP can talk correctly to that host. And we do have restrictions in the host server and the guest server, the virtual machine, only to accept SNMP requests from this particular IP address. And I'm going to do exactly the same way with. So this is the Observium server that we're on now. So if it can SNMP walk it, then it shouldn't have any problems at all in adding it. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing with our ESXi hosts, because you may remember that these were SNMP v3. So I created a user here and I used the password 1 and the secret password 2 and the IP address qualified domain again ee-lab.com. I'm pausing because I've been operating on another lab for the last few days, which is lab.com. So I'm getting confused with all these labs. Lab.com, ee-lab.com. Okay, I'm going to do the same again, ESXi 002. Okay, so that confirms that Observium can SNMP walk our 4 devices that we want to add. So I'm just going to disappear back to the GUI. So shouldn't see any problems at all in clicking add, and we should see a green banner. So I'm just going to click add, and what we're looking for here, blue, green. If you don't get that green and you get red, something has gone wrong. But if you've done an SNMP walk first, then you shouldn't see any problems in adding hosts. And often what the problem is one, FQDN is wrong, DNS is wrong, reverse DNS is wrong, firewall, or you've not actually added permission for this particular management server. So we're going to do exactly the same thing again. I'm going to do elab DC2, and I'm just going to click add. I'm going to leave all these parameters exactly the same. Add. So that device has been added. So I'm going to do exactly the same. ESXi 001.ee-lab.com. Now this time we need to change to SNMP v3, and our auth level is auth priv, and our auth name is ADAPH. The password is password 1. Our auth algorithm is SHA. Our crypto password is PA password 2, and our crypto algorithm is AES. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to get exactly the same thing in green again. Okay, so I've got a problem here. I'm just looking to see what adding, trying, no reply, could not reach. Okay, so I think there must be a typo I've put in here somewhere. Password 1, password 2, password 1, 80. AES, SHA. Just let me put this on pause and have a little look, because I can't see the wood for the trees. Okay, I can't see anything wrong with it at all. And the fact that we SNMP walked using those credentials, unless I'm being a complete muppet and I just can't see the wood for the trees here. So I'm just going to click add again, and I'm hoping to see green, but clearly you can see what goes wrong if it doesn't work. So I'm going to click add. So it worked that time. I'm wondering if I got a password wrong, and I put a double S in. I'd have to go back and look at the video, and a Sainsbury's has just turned up, so that gives me enough time just to change that to 2 and click add, and that's added. So if we now look at 4, then you can see that our management panel is slowly building up. Now, when you actually start to see these values here, 16, 16, and 2, it indicates that the device has, you've added the device and it's gone off and discovered the device, and it's actually started pulling metrics in. And exactly the same here. So if I leave this a few minutes, do me a Sainsbury's order, have me tea, and we'll see that those values basically appear as well. And I've got one thing that I'm going to come back. I'm going to create this little text file, and then I'm going to add the majority of our Ubiquity devices on the LAN here as well. So I'll be back shortly. Don't you go away. Not steal, get given, because I'd really like some more sensors for my home lab. You know, as I said, at the moment, you know, 622 sensors are currently in use, and certainly within the lab here, I think we could probably double that. Maybe what I'm going to need to do is to go off and add every single IP device that exists on the LANs here. There are a few. If they all support a method which is available on PRTG, that Swiss Army knife of network management products that can go off and manage them. But 100 sensors for me personally is not going to work in my ham lab, might work in yours. Anyway, this was about Observium. It wasn't about PRTG. We did that last week. Anyway, back to Observium. So you can see here that we're now basically getting metrics, and if we leave this running, you know, we'll get some very nice graphs. So we've got some memory usage and traffic going on and processor usage here. They're all being graphed outside of ESXi or vCenter server. Oh, there was going to vCenter server that I was going to add as well. Don't think I've got SNMP enabled on that at the moment, because we were doing the management of that via SOAP, the API, not via SNMP. So that's something I'm going to need to revisit. Another video, maybe. Who knows? Next video is going to be going back to what I promised, which was a backup product. So we're going to jump back to that, and then we will jump forward back to SNMP in vCenter server. Oh, what fun. Loads and loads of videos. Anyway, so what I was going to show you is those are the devices that we have here in our EE lab, which are running under vCenter server 8. But I did actually promise you that, you know, there is a quick way that we can add devices. So I'm going to go back to the scary bash shell, a remote connection into our Observium. And I've just knocked up a little devices.txt file, which just lists devices that we want to add, our FQDNs, followed by the SNMP community name, which is public. As I mentioned, the community name is often set on our Ubiquiti equipment, but it keeps dropping out. Anyway, and v2c is the version of SNMP we're using, and you can see the examples here. Now there are two PHP files really that you want to have a little look at. One of them is /opt observium add_device.php, and if you just run that without any commands, it will show you what the syntax is. And then there's another one which is discovery. Discovery. If I can type there we go, discovery.php. That's the one after we've added the devices to Observium, rather than waiting for the regular 5-minute polar to discover them. We can force a discovery. So let's add our devices. So quite simply, we do opt observium add_device.php, followed by our text file. So we have our list of Ubiquiti devices that we want to add. FQDN name, host name, followed by community name, followed by version of SNMP, in our case 2C. And we're going to use opt observium add_device PHP. I don't need debugging mode. Devices.txt and enter. And there you go, all being SNMP walked for the first time. 9 devices success, 1 device failed. Okay, that's so if I have a little refresh. Okay, so you can see that all our Ubiquiti devices, I think so, USG 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can only work out the number by counting. Yeah, okay. So there you go. That's all I've really got to show you in this video of using Observium. And certainly I think if we waited a little bit longer, error. I think that's probably, yeah, device not yet polled. Okay, so there's one final thing that I wanted to show you that I did suggest, is that we can use the polling function, the discovery. And again, if we look at, we can do discovery -h -all, and that will go off and discover and pull down. Would help if I actually basically did -h all. So by doing this now, that's actually basically going to go and pull down the metrics the first time, rather than waiting for the cron job poller to actually basically go off and poll the settings. Now, if you've got a lot of devices with a lot of MIBs, sensors, I think that's what PRTG calls them. So if you've got a lot of devices with a lot of sensors on board, this can take 4 or 5 minutes. We do use Observium here in the home lab, and we use it in production, and we use it across a lot of other sites as well as a single pane of glass, because it gives us a very quick eyeball if something actually basically goes red. So I actually turned the discovery time 3.4 seconds. So if we go back and we just refresh our dashboard, then hopefully we're not going to get any error messages. Okay, so this could be that it's saying that it's not being polled, so that might populate later. And we're getting draw errors here on the temperature, but that could be because it's not actually base polled yet. I don't know. So again, free product, Observium CE, the community edition, is free. If you've got a tiny little bit of resources in your virtual environment to spin up an Ubuntu server, pull down Observium CE as I've shown you, get it installed, and you can show your management this Christmas how clever you've been in single pane of glass, monitoring all your devices, because you may be looking at virtual machines within vCenter Server, but if you've got important switches, important routers, printers, etc., that you also need to be keeping an eyeball on to see whether or not that they've not got problems, then you can do that all from within Observium. Or you could do it from PRTG if you want a commercial product, or you could purchase the commercial enterprise editions of Observium. Again, thank you very much for watching this video and joining me in Hancock's VMware half hour. I'll speed up the bits and pieces that took a while in post, so you don't have to watch paint drying, and come back for another episode of Hancock's VMware half hour when we look at a backup product. So once again, all for me to say thank you very much and goodbye.